Debra is part comedian, part psychologist, part astrologer, and all real. She helps people turn on their own inner observer to see the things that they say and do in a totally objective way. Debra has been in private practice for over 40 years. She uses astrology and her own system called the 4 elements, or 4E for short, as tools to help people step into their power. Debra's mothering approach to understanding and empowering people from all walks of life has earned her international fame and admiration. She has written a book, magazine columns, hosted a radio show, and has a YouTube channel with over 8 million views. She is dedicated to creating community and working for the children. Debra believes the future is arriving and none of us can do it alone. She is an expert in embracing the feminine, and her ultimate dream is to revolutionize therapy by teaching therapists how to provide custom treatment to their clients. Debra believes in the power of listening. When we're silent, both with ourselves and others, the message that is trying to come through us can be given a voice. And we can all start walking in our authentic path and powerful path. She splits her time between Kauai and Boulder, Colorado, where she enjoys talking to beautiful flowers, daily swims, and spending time with friends and family. Hi, Debra.
So sweet. It's fun listening. If it happens true, I've really scored.
And that's not true? I know it is true.
No, it is true. It just sounds like a lot. No, it is true. It's all true.
It's because you're such an amazing person. You're so generous.
That's one of the qualities that definitely I got from my father. Yes. He taught me, I learned at a very young age that if you gave things away, they would come back. It's sort of a law. I think people don't realize how much generosity serves. So people tend to hoard or they hold on when really the art of this life is the flow state, like to really be willing to give and be unexpected in what comes back. But you never know how life's going to repay you.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And that's so true. It's so true. I see it every day in my life. That's amazing. I know that so many people that are watching this already know you because you're so famous. And I'm so privileged to have you on this show. So I'm so grateful. But I've actually studied with you, and I use your sacred script, and you have a wonderful school that is, it really, I remember getting back into astrology through your school because I was going through a very rough time personally. And I was just going to use it as, I thought, well, here's a therapist. I don't have to go to therapy. I'll just start, I'll just go to her school and I'll just do my own self-therapy. Maybe it'll work this time. And I did, and it did. And I am so much better off. And now I'm practicing astrology. So I'm really super grateful. But if you could tell everybody a little bit about your school, that would be great.
That's so meaningful to me that you actually did the school and are using the sacred script. So I was, like most of you watching this, I was fascinated with astrology at a very young age. I just thought it was so obvious that people's personality types were so loud. And I must have come in, there's a word called recapitulate, where you remember a past life. I must have been an astrologer. It's kind of funny to say it out loud, but I must have been an astrologer somewhere before, because at the sweet age of like 14, I was fascinated. And then by the time I was 19, I had my first teacher that taught me astrology in a very quick fashion. And by the time I was 20, I was supporting myself in school by being an astrologer. So it clearly, I think if I was a kid, I would have been the kid they put on the piano who without lessons started playing. I had that gift because I learned astrology so quickly and so easily. But my job now is to teach it to you, anyone interested, in a very simple fashion, like a 6th grade level it starts off at. But as you know, because I'm a therapist, there's a Secret Service agent hiding underneath the astrology, which is about helping you. First class is you identify your patterns, your broken records, your shadow, what's sabotaging, all those classical psychological terms of projection and your shadow self and the gremlins and how do you deal with your unconscious. We address that in a very palatable, it's very easy, it's very tasty the way that we teach the class. There's only 6 classes, it's a 6-week course, and it's bite-sized bits, as you would know.
Yes.
So it became really, the art for me was, how do I take this ancient, huge science and simplify it? And I have Mercury in Taurus. So everything about my thought process is very small and very practical. I like to teach people things that are very applicable. So it's not like theory, it has to have some ground. So why I give people the sacred script, to your point, is after you've studied astrology for hundreds of years, people can't feel confident because there's no classical training where you finish senior year and then college and then graduate school. You just keep wondering if you're an astrologer. So in our school, we force people at level 2, that's the second 6-week course, to go do a reading. And I just had someone call me yesterday, and she said, one of our employees who is working for me, she went through level 1 and 2, and she did her first reading yesterday, and she called me and she said, I can't believe how good I did. So my job is to make you a good astrologer, because she didn't think she was good at it, but I taught her the basics. She told the person the information. The person was like, wow, I'm in Saturn return. Those simple things that we take for granted in the right context. You can't just throw information at someone. It's like throwing paint at them rather than painting by number or painting a painting that really requires discipline. So if you just throw all this information at somebody, it looks like a mess.
Absolutely.
Isn't that true? So how do I help you focus? Go ahead, Sally.
Well, no, that's exactly what it did for me. It helped me. It helped me. I was giving readings when I was in college, but my readings were scattered. They were scattered. They didn't have of course, you always talk about the sun and the moon and the rising, but everything else was from there. It was a big crapshoot, as to which direction I would go. So you really taught me a very simple method, to at least start out with first 5 things. And then from there, it's a crapshoot. It's depending on what my, intuition is saying. But those first 5 things that I guess it's more than that, because then we also need to talk about your book, The Missing Element, which was so helpful for me. That's a great book.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful book.
Yeah, that was my simple version for a beginner or advanced student in astrology, to learn one specific methodology, which is the elemental distribution of your chart, and how to change your life by inserting the missing element. The name of the book is The Missing Element. So you get to figure out what is missing. But the thing about level 3, which I don't think you did, Sally, is you come, in fact, we're having it this weekend. You come and you do a reading in front of me, and then you get to learn after you see 10 different women. There's only 10 people. In every class we have, there's only 10 people. They did a research project, and that's the number of intimacy that maintains a group structure. So everything's in tens. And at level 3, level 1 is you learn about yourself. Level 2 is you learn how to do a reading, and you get given the sacred script. And level 3 is you come to a reading, we give you a client, and I'm sitting next to you, and you're doing the reading, and I'm supporting you by understanding what place you got lost in, or how to take the person's information and focus more on the psychological patterns, or how to insert the information at the appropriate time. So you learn by watching every woman do a reading and me coaching them, and we video them, and it becomes this really powerful learning tool. So yeah, I just want astrology, you probably do too, to reach the masses. Like, how do we get this out?
I can't imagine how anybody can go their whole life without having their natal chart read. That's just so unfathomable to me. I don't even know where do you put that? I did recently. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You live without having information about your personality. It's painful.
Mm-hmm. How did you? I'm sorry. How did you bring? How do you use the 4 elements in your work with psychology?
Well, that's the book, The Missing Element. Once I establish very quickly at the beginning of every session, what is the elemental distribution? What's the primary element the person's leaning into? And what's the one they're avoiding? As soon as you bring the one in that they're avoiding, the system balances. It's like 4 wheels in a car: water, air, earth, and fire. 1 wheel's down and the whole system's off. So the game is, how do I help you balance? And that's the psychological model. When I was in graduate school, I started doing astrology when I was very young. So I was in graduate school, and I already noticed that psychology without, in fact, Carl Jung said it, psychology without astrology is a dinosaur science. That's what he said. That you can't do therapy without understanding someone on their terms. You don't want someone to become what you think they should become. You want someone to be who they are, and you don't know who they are until you look at their chart, because they'll tell you all kinds of stupid stories. I call them stupid stories in the book. They have all these stupid stories. My mother didn't love me. My brother was mean to me. I can't find my job. I got married 3 times. I never had kids. I got 6. Whatever their stupid story is the most important thing is to look back at the chart and go, oh, well, let's just see here what your elemental distribution is. I can help you psychologically get comfortable in your skin and go actively deal with what life handed you, but at least you'll be in your own comfort zone.
So I have a question about that. When I look at a chart, so let's say I just had one this morning, they were really, really, really balanced. They were very balanced all the way through. So how do you determine at that point? I mean, obviously, if they're very emotional, they're going to be watery, or if they're they've got a hot head, they're going to be more fire. They're going to have a little bit more fire. But overall, if you're just looking at the little cheat sheet down at the bottom that and it's very, very balanced. How do you direct them to bring in that missing element?
Well, that's what's in the book. My phone is ringing. That's what's in the book. What's in the book is, hold on, let me just turn that off. That's so funny. I think it's just going to end now. There's someone trying to call.
That's okay. Don't worry.
Really, Mr. Telephone?
Facts.
The big deal is if the missing element is something uncomfortable for somebody, like they don't want to learn how to cry because they have no water and they really can't feel, or if the missing element is air and they don't want to have to socialize, like they don't like people, they find it very difficult to communicate, or it's earth and they don't do well with money or cleaning or food, they just find all of that so tedious. Or if it's fire and they really don't have chi, like they don't have the get up and go, you have to cultivate the missing element, and it's very unnatural. So to your question, it's like that's why level 1 is so important. The first class of level 1, I will have looked at your chart, as you probably know this, before this class starts. The mentor and I communicate, and we'll come up with a homework assignment. And it's always the homework assignment, like you don't want to have to go like if you have no air, I don't want to socialize. Well, that's what it's going to take for you to be able to balance your game. So you don't go with comfortable, easy things all the time. Of course you do part of the time, but you have to insert the missing element. And it's not easy. I mean, I have to say, the courageous astrology students I have who do their homework really take a big step in evolution. Like you could probably talk to it. How has your life changed since you did level 1 and 2? Can you identify?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. Well, I had suffered a lot of loss because I had a lot of death in my family. In fact, during level 2, my mom died. And this had been coming on for some time. I think I had like 6 people die all within 5 years. And so I was trying real hard to pull myself up out of grief, not even feeling the grief. So when my mom died, she was pretty much the last one, but literally from that point forward, it gave me such a it leveled my playing field. And it gave me a chance to, okay, then I could stop worrying about everybody being sick. I could stop worrying about caring for everybody, and I could start doing some self-care and really start diving into my money issues, my health issues, my rage issues, all of those things. So it afforded me that time. And I think because of that, I was able to heal quicker and move forward and get my life back together. I think that had I not have gone through, and I would have to say it's therapy, really, your therapy. As much as it is a school, I would have to say if I had not have gone through your therapy, I feel like I would have still been caught in a doom and gloom. Yeah, in an old story. Exactly. That's the way it helped me, aside from giving me, some form to my readings and things like that were very practical. It's so easy for people to understand. When I do the chart, I still explain it the way you do with the mother's bed and all that stuff. People love that. They love it. It's just,
I just talk like a 6th grade teacher. So to your point, you're in the middle of a crisis or a emotional grieving, and because of the community, I love to name the organization the 11th house, because we have a tribe of people. You're one of them. And once you get into the tribe and you meet your sisters and your brothers, mostly sisters, it becomes very comforting to know, one, that you've got other astromaniacs around, because we love talking this shit all day, and everyone watching this loves talking it, but they understand it.
Yeah.
Like my poor partner, sometimes I look at him, I think, I told him to take the class, but he's taken the class, but he didn't stick. But I say to him, whenever there's anyone around talking astrology, we are in the deep part of the water going on.
That's right. That's right. It's such a love. It's an obsession, I'm guessing. But yeah, my husband too. He's like, oh my gosh, he knows far more about Mercury and Saturn than he ever thought he ever would. So my husband, he's like 10 years older than me. He's like, oh my God, Saturn must be doing something crazy. Mercury must be in retrograde.
I always say that I'm a drug dealer. I feel bad because I give people a little bit and they just want more.
It's true. Well, tell us a little bit. I know you're always so generous. You always give a gift to the viewers on the summits. What kind of gift are you going to give today?
There's a meditation that I use all the time that's teaching us. It's an old Egyptian Hathor meditation that I thought I made up, but then I read it in a book many years after I'd been doing it all these years, and then suddenly I was like, what do you mean they already? I guess I channeled it, but it's a grounding. So there's a meditation we'll give to you, and there is all this free material. Any of you that are watching this that haven't joined our mailing list, we give out, you probably know this, like I love sharing. So there's a newsletter every new moon and full moon, and we have something called, you know, Sally, about the star community?
The star community is great. I recommend it for everybody. I love the interviews that you do. They're wonderful.
And their chart comes up. So it's $22 a month, or you can buy an annual for, I think it's like $200 for the year. And every month you'll get where the planets are, what the transits are, an interview with somebody really well known. I'll talk to you about what the flavor of the month is. So it's a really quick and easy way to learn astrology, the starcommunity.com. And then also being part of our community, you get these videos that come out every day that tell you where the moon is. So it's really important to be able to track the energies. Once you become fluent in astrology, you want to pay attention to where's the moon and what's the energy of the day, and how do I facilitate my relationship with the cosmos. Well, if I have to know, you know, it's all air. I want to know so I can actually play the role of being the guardian of this planet. We are all here. I mean, it feels like a victimization game because our life stories are so heavy. I call them stupid stories. Everyone's got one: the death of our mother, the pain of our father. But then you take those stories and you turn them into blessings. Like, how do women deal with the death of their mother and keep their heart open and deal with the grief? Well, if you do it, if Sally does it, then there's lots of people that can learn from you just by vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate what you're doing. You might think you're all by yourself in a small little pocket where your life doesn't have meaning because you're not famous or you don't have millions of hits on Facebook. So what? The real issue is God's watching, angels are watching, you're being tracked, and your lineage, all of your family, you're changing the lineage for your family. If you're believing in astrology, you're opening up the mind, and that's preventing the next lifetimes, those future lives, from having to come. They'll say, oh, my crazy aunt. I once heard about my crazy grandmother. She was an astrologer. That'll be in the future. And they'll have an open-mindedness because we'll have made it popular.
Yeah. And every now and then you get to hear her sing too. She's got a great voice.
You're the sweetest.
It's true. She loves it.
What I really love to do is to sing in my dream time, and to people that are coming into this life, to say to them, this is a positive planet, even though it looks so horrible right now. Don't get discouraged. This is just, we're giving birth, and we're screaming and yelling, and it feels so uncomfortable. But that's what happens when you give birth. It's not easy. Anyone that's given birth knows it's like the most horrible, extreme pain right before this little teeny baby arrives. The little eyelashes that you're like, what? So we don't know what's happening on the planet. We just know without a question we're in a birthing canal. It's super uncomfortable. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
When do you see it lifting?
Well, I think 2020, when Saturn and Pluto, it's already started. Saturn and Pluto coming together, it's going to force the collective, Pluto being power, Saturn being the form, in Capricorn, the government. There's a transformation to form. So even the government being shut down, this is all Pluto Saturn. It's like the most constricted holding in of energy that we've ever seen at this level of public acknowledgement. It's always been different states of intensity, but we now have the internet. So everything is public every single day. He tweets, Mr. whatever his name is, Trump, and he tweets every day. And then we watch the news, and then we watch Facebook, and then we see a Facebook Live, and then we're so stimulated. So for the first time ever, I call it her story. It's not his story anymore. It's her story. For the first time in her story, we are dealing with an intensity that's never been here before, and that's Saturn and Pluto. So it's all the way through 2020 that the pressure continues to build.
And my second Saturn return starts on February 2020. But I'm already feeling it.
Of course you are. Saturn, yeah. So for all of you that are 28 to 30, 58 to 60, it could be 61, it could be 57, it could be 27, it could be 31. You are in the midst of this transition for the collective. You personally are feeling the discomfort, but because of your, Sally, being Capricorn, you guys promised us you would ground. So just keep doing your work. Just keep working. That's what your promise was.
Okay. Ground.
And for most Saturn and Capricorn, how can you stop?
Yeah, no kidding. Debra, thank you so much. I'm forever grateful. And I want to do 3. Should I go to Maui, or should I go to Kauai, or should I go to Boulder?
I always tell everyone to come to Hawaii, but there's less and less people coming to Hawaii, so Boulder's gotten bigger. But if you have a choice and you have the means, you would absolutely want to come to Hawaii. That's why yeah.
Okay. Are you here? Are you there today, or are you in Boulder? Are you? Wow. Well, thank you so much. You're such a blessing to me.
Thank you. I'm sending you and all of your audience lots of aloha and the spirit of keeping your heart open no matter what, and keeping your head up in the stars, and never give up, because the stars keep shining and so should you.
Aww.